This is Lauren Stein, the Manager of Implementation over here at Acctivate. Today we're going to be going over EDI Processing in version 10. So we're going to get started today with a brief overview of what EDI is for those of you that don't already use EDI. Then we're going to have Jeff Ross with SPS chime in and talk about our partnership with SPS and some of their awesome tools. And then after he's finished, we'll follow up with an explanation of the changes in version 10, and then we'll wrap up with a demo of setting up and processing transactions for each of your trading partners. So what is EDI? EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange. It allows you to create bulk orders for your customers like Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond using a utility within Acctivate which integrates with your EDI providers. It also allows you to communicate with your 3PL warehouses by sending and receiving information for shipments based on the order details of the sales orders in Acctivate. When you begin using EDI, you'll notice there are quite a few requirements that need to be met. You'll need to get started with an EDI provider such as SPS or TrueCommerce, and there's a few other that we also integrate with, as well as purchase the module with Acctivate and the individual trading partners, so we can get those configured. With these two requirements met, you'll begin getting into the specific requirements of each of your trading partners. One of which is connectivity. Connectivity is definitely a key point. You'll need to set up a network for transporting data between you and the trading partners, whether it's your customer or your 3PL warehouses. This is done via your chosen EDI provider. They are the connection between you and your trading partners. The connection between Acctivate and your provider enables a link between trading partner and your inventory flow. Mapping is done to reconcile data between you and your trading partner into something Acctivate can read. You'll work with your EDI provider to set up information that's usable within Acctivate to process the EDI transactions without errors. Also, translations need to be created to convert data into and out of the EDI transactions. These can be set fields that are defaults or a way to convert certain information that makes sense to the trading partner or to the specific application that you're using. The application integration is where Acctivate comes into play. It's the link for exchanging data into and out of your accounting system. We create orders based on what the EDI provider sends and give the users the ability to process and send information back to your trading partners via the EDI transaction files. Acctivate also allows you to set up 3PL warehouses and send order detail and shipment information back and forth to keep your inventory levels up to date. As you can see, the EDI provider itself plays a large role in being EDI compliant with each of your trading partners. And so we're going to have Jeff Ross come in and talk about the relationship with Acctivate and SPS. So I'll pass it over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Lauren. That's great. So I appreciate being here. So just a little bit about why SPS Commerce is here. We've been partners with Acctivate for several years now, really providing Acctivate customers 100% cloud-based EDI. So some of those components that Lauren just went through in terms of the mapping, the translation, the connectivity is really housed on our platform and managed out to 2,000 plus retailer buying organizations today. We have a dedicated Acctivate support and implementation group, and it also provides them the key integration for all those EDI transactions that you'll typically see with the PO, invoice, advanced ship notice, and then if you work with a 3PL, the warehouse documents that are required as well. So on the next slide here is really just a high-level visual of the solution with Acctivate. So Acctivate is pre-wired to the SPS network, meaning that once the EDI solution with your Acctivate is deployed, it's pre-wired SPS and just requires testing then to onboard any trading partners into that solution, allowing you to really plug in once and scale that up to as many trading partners as you can without having to worry about a lot of those components that Lauren went through earlier as well. So beyond just EDI, SPS is really focused in the retail space. So on this next slide here, as a core component, everybody wants to get that order. You want to fulfill it correctly. You want to have that good scorecard with your retailer to really drive more business in the future. So our platform helps that above and beyond EDI. So if you think about the life cycle of just what it takes to actually get that first EDI order sent, the buyer has to agree to something. There has to be some sort of sourcing agent. So SPS actually has a B2B retail business network, retailuniverse.com, where retailers are actually searching for new suppliers and vendors as they diversify their .com websites to really try to compete with Amazon. So that's one place. And then once you have that relationship in place, you need to be able to share items. So we have kind of an item management tool that allows you to have one central location to store all the attributes, the images, the videos that your retailers may want to have, to be able to send that out to them quickly and manage it in one single place. Typically, we see a lot of spreadsheets companies use in this scenario to manage a lot of those item attributes. And then EDI, falls in there as you want to get the orders, you want to do the shipments, be compliant there, and be a good vendor. And then the next step is the analytics. So you're getting orders, you want to find ways to drive more business. How can you be a collaborative partner to this retailer to help that? And our analytics tool really helps give you visibility into where goods are selling, what's selling through where, or what's not moving. So you can actually make the most out of those meetings with your buyer to say, we have an excess of inventory in location A, it's selling through really well in location B, maybe we should move some product around to help both of us make more money. So, EDI is a core component of our platform and your business as well, but our goal is really to give you the tools you need to help then grow in that retail space and grow your business. So with that, I'll hand it back to Lauren to really dive into the specifics of the new updates on the EDI side with Acctivate.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. That was some good information about SPS and Acctivate, and they've got some really great tools that y'all can use once you sign up with SPS as your provider.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so EDI and Acctivate 10.0. One of the major changes for EDI and Acctivate version 10 is removing the need for a separate EDI Manager application. Users will no longer need to go out of the Acctivate desktop app to import or export EDI transaction files. Now there's a tool which allows users to process all the transactions and a new EDI section in Configuration Manager. This is huge for especially the people that have multiple trading partners that they're processing at one time. The section in EDI configuration allows users to create or edit their trading partners based on how many partners are listed in their Acctivate license. You have the option of setting up a customer or warehouse trading partner, which gives you the flexibility needed. No longer are you going to have to, whenever you purchase a new trading partner, wait for support to contact you to set up the trading partner in the back end. You'll actually be able to do that on your own in Configuration Manager. Another improvement is the multi-partner synchronization. All trading partners and their respective transactions are checked to see if any new documents exist. Each one is listed in the EDI sync utility based on the specific trading partner, and you'll also be able to easily resolve any errors as they're identified. Users will also have the capability to process all the transactions at one time. When EDI Manager was a standalone software, the user had to open each trading partner individually in order to send or receive files depending on if they were doing customer purchase orders or ASNs, invoices, warehouse orders, all the transaction files. If you have more than a couple of trading partners, that can definitely be a daunting task. If you're having to open a trading partner and then process each transaction and then open a new trading partner. In Acctivate 10, you can do everything on one screen. So a little bit more about the specific transaction files and kind of the flow of how everything is done with EDI. The available transaction files are customer purchase order, warehouse shipment, advanced ship notice, and the customer invoice. The customer purchase order, also known as the 850, is sent to a folder on your network or via FTP from the EDI provider for you to receive and to activate to create sales orders. After creating the sales orders in Acctivate from the 850, you can then either process the shipment in-house or send information to your 3PL warehouse via the warehouse order or 940. The 3PL warehouse is linked to a specific Acctivate warehouse regardless of the order being created via EDI manually or through Web Store Sync. And when you're ready, you can process the 940 documents as well as receive any new warehouse shipment notifications or 945 transactions for your warehouse. And all of that is going to be based on the order detail of each order based on the configuration. The advanced ship notices are then sent back to the EDI provider as an 856 document. These are created by importing the 945 transaction file or creating the packages in Packaging Manager. Packaging Manager is used when you do not utilize a 3PL, since the 3PL processes all of those inventory shipments for you, which is one of the great things about 3PL warehouses. And then to complete the process, you would then invoice the sales orders, which will prompt Acctivate to create the customer invoice or the 810 transaction file. And that actually completes the EDI process in Acctivate. So enough with the slides. Let's go ahead and get into Acctivate so we can take a look at all these great new improvements. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and go to Configuration Management. So File, Configuration Management. And then you can see here we have this EDI and Trading Partners. So in this section, you can add or edit your existing partners. This system default sets a default for any of the transactions that you're going to create after this. So that way, if you have one inbox and one outbox that all of your EDI transaction files flow through, then you can just set that as a system default, and then whenever you create a new trading partner, you don't have to override anything. It's already there for you. So as you can see, you'll have the trading partner type is either going to be customer or warehouse, and that's going to be an option available for any of the new trading partners as well. You'll have the partner ID, which is going to be in the actual the EDI transaction files, and then the long partner name, which could be, usually partner ID for places like Bed Bath & Beyond, that's going to be BBB, and then partner name is going to be, the long Bed Bath & Beyond. And then you can click this Show Advanced. The logging level, you can set this to be information, warnings, errors, or exceptions. Whichever one you select, it's only going to log items that meet or exceed the selected level in the Acctivate log file. The partner vendor ID is going to be based on the Acctivate company ID. And then the usage is going to be either production or testing, and then you can either consolidate shipments or not consolidate shipments. And again, we're still in the system default, so we're just checking out what we can have whenever we create a new trading partner. This default for incoming file is going to be the EDI inbox or import folder, depending on what you use. And then you also have this mailbox file mask. Now, if you double click in this mailbox file mask, you'll see partner ID, transaction ID, file stamp, timestamp, and branch ID. And what that does is if you select partner ID, then the transaction itself is going to now include that partner ID that you have set up for that trading partner. And then you can separate it by underscores or whatever characters you like, and you can continually add this. It just depends on what you want the file to look like whenever you've exported it, or what the file is going to look like whenever you're importing it, if it has a specific file mask that you need to use, depending on your trading partner. The same goes for the outgoing files. We've got this set to the Acctivate EDI outbox. That's either going to be outbox or your export folder. It just depends on which provider you use or which files or folders you're going to be importing and exporting into. And then these file extensions can be TXT, but we've also got some providers that actually have file extensions based on the specific trading partner you're importing and exporting. So you can set that information here in the file extension. So we'll go ahead and hide the advanced, and the rest of the stuff we'll take a look at when we create a new partner. So we'll just hit save and new. So we're just going to go through creating a new partner. For those of you that need to purchase new trading partners or just want to see how a new one's created, you'll select either customer or warehouse. Now, depending on which one you select, it'll give you a list of transactions that you can add. So for customers, you'll see customer purchase order, customer invoice, customer advance ship notice. We'll go ahead and add those. Because Not everybody uses all three of these, so you can just select what is going to be available for this partner. We'll go ahead and give it a name. All right, we're going to link it to our Bristol hotel. All right, and then in the Show Advanced, and this is where you see the information that you set up as the default. You can see this example of C program data, Alterity, Activate, EDI, Inbox. That if you don't put anything in this mailbox path, it's going to default to what you see listed here. And also we have this option name and setting. Once you selected an option name, you can select a specific option. So we've got packaging options, automatic, single carton, no auto packing. And we also have default carrier and store as alternate customer ID. Now to get this drop down, I don't know if you noticed, but if you select this field and just double click, that's when you can see the drop down for what the available option names are. In the future, we may be able to do customized option names. And then when you click setting, depending on whatever option name you have, you can select, for this one we have default carrier, so let's just say we'll do UPS. And then once you've selected that, it gives you another option name to select if you wanted to go ahead and do that third option. So let's go ahead and hide this advanced column, and we're going to add an item. Now it says new partners must first be saved before adding assignments. So let's go ahead and save this new partner, and then we'll select the Bristol Hotel customer. And it's just saying that it's going to update automatically without waiting for save. You just click OK, and it does the customer ID and customer name. Now, sometimes we do have customers that come to us that have multiple customer records in Acctivate that they want to link to an EDI trading partner. When doing this and you're actually importing POs, the customer is chosen based on the store number listed in the transaction file, which can be set up as the ship to location ID in Acctivate. So let's take a look at the customer purchase order. Again, the example shows the default setup in the system section. That's not going to change unless you put a new mailbox path up here. And the same goes for the mailbox file path. You just double click in there, and then you can select what you want to choose these files with. Like if your 850s come over with the partner ID and then the purchase order information, then you would just do the partner ID and then underscore or just partner ID, and then it would look for that specific partner ID and then the asterisk for the wildcard, and the same for the file extension, which can be TXT or based specifically on that trading partner. It just depends on what your EDI provider requires. Let's take a look at the customer advanced ship notice. You can choose a different shipment structure for the ASNs. You can do pick pack, standard pack, or no pack. You can check out our help articles on which one you should select here. Depending on what you select, it actually tells Acctivate what to export whenever we're sending that advanced ship notice out. And then on the customer invoices, we have this invoice selection. So let's say Bristol, sometimes maybe we don't always import orders for Bristol through EDI, that maybe we actually, they'll call us sometimes. So we could select this to be include all. So that way, whenever we're sending customer invoices, if there's any invoices for Bristol, regardless of how it was created, it'll actually create that 810 document and send it out to the EDI provider. All right, and that's setting up a new customer. That's the same basic principle when setting up a new 3PL warehouse. So we're just going to take a look at the one that we've already created. So the trading partner type is warehouse, and then for the warehouse, the only documents you're going to have are warehouse order and warehouse shipment. If you click here, add transactions, you can see there's no additional transactions Those are the only ones that we're doing currently, the 940 and 945. And then you also have the advanced options here as well. You can set the defaults for incoming and outgoing files, the mailbox file pass, the packaging options, single carton, no, auto packing. You'll be able to add warehouses. So if you have multiple warehouses, or if you have multiple Acctivate warehouses for your one 3PL warehouse, maybe the 3PL has different locations that you want to send to, you can add those here, and it'll all go to this big warehouse partner ID, just kind of like what we have for the customer trading partners. Okay, and so for the warehouse order, for the 940, you have the different option names of filter orders by workflow. If you don't have anything set here, if you just leave this blank, it's going to automatically only grab orders that have ready to pick as the workflow status whenever you're sending these 940 transactions. And then also, if you double click again, you can select the order workflow status, and this actually specifies what the workflow status should be set after exporting the 940. So if you wanted it to be maybe picked or packaging or something like that, then you can set that here. And if you entered that and you don't want it to be there, it's just like the other grids that we have in Acctivate. You can just hit the delete key on your keyboard and you can remove that. In the warehouse shipment, currently we don't have any option names to select from, but we may in the future. So if for some reason y'all need that information, just let us know and we can get an enhancement request out there to add more options here. And again, the mailbox path and file mask, it's all the same on any transaction that you choose. It's going to default to what you have as the system. All right. So now let's take a look at the EDI tool. So you'll see now we have this EDI icon, and then we also have the EDI menu, process EDI. So if we pull that up, we do have a couple of purchase orders here. As you can see, these dots will tell you the status. So the green dot, there's no errors. The yellow dot, there's a warning. And then the red dot would be if you got any exceptions. So this warning is could not find match for product. So what you can do is you can either open the specific transaction file in Notepad and take a look at it. So let's go ahead and see what those look like. And it's the purchase order that ends in 2305. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that in Notepad. Now, a good way to be able to research this if you are getting errors, obviously it's not going to show you the column numbers here, so you can go ahead and copy it, and then you can open it in Excel. And using our help site, which I will go ahead and open that as well, we're looking for an 850. We want to take a look at the specs to see what certain fields mean, because it said BP, and here, I'll make this a little bit smaller. So you see the column numbers here. Now, when you refer to this, could not find match for vendor product B101. So if we look here and we go down to the items, item row, that VP is a vendor product ID, and that's going to be the product ID or alternate product ID. And if you look at it in Excel, it's not obvious. I mean, obviously column C or C is going to be column number 3, but if you're having issues with like ship to location or mark for store and you're getting out here, you're not going to inherently know what value AY is. So a good trick in Excel is to go to File, Options, and then you can go to Formulas. And if you click this R1C1 reference style, that's actually what gives you the column headings with numbers. So that'll give you a good way to research any issues that you're having with any of the documents. And those numbers are going to correspond with the column numbers on our help site. So we're going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to look at the product. You can either edit it in the actual transaction file, or you can go to whatever it's referencing in Acctivate and see what the issue is. Now, we're going to look it up by UPC, and you can see that 764.100.1004, it's got an extra character here on B10. So we're going to edit, take out that S, hit save. We're going to go back here and refresh, and it rechecks any of the transactions, and now you can see that this ABC purchase order is now green and good to go. So you can do these updates automatically, which is awesome, without having to, move files back and forth because you've already imported them or anything like that, or have to really dig in to research it, because you can do it all in Acctivate. All right, so let's go ahead and process these. We've got 2 purchase orders, and then we've got an advanced ship notice for Bristol, because I just created that trading partner, so we do have some Bristol packages ready to go. So we'll go ahead and process that, and as you can see, everything is good. And if you're constantly receiving new orders or processing transactions, you can hit refresh, and Acctivate will go and see if there's any information that's new that you can go ahead and process. Also, this screen right here and the screen that you saw previously can be copied into a clipboard. So if you right click on this grid, you can copy to clipboard and open that in any program that you can paste into, and it's going to give you any information that's listed on that screen. Okay, so let's take a look at the sales orders that were created. It was a 1528T was the one for ABC, and then also 1529T. Now the 1529T is going to go to this warehouse B, which is what we've set up for that big warehouse, the 3PL. So that's how Acctivate sees this big warehouse, found one order containing 2 lines. And if you wanted to set a customer to default to go to this specific EDI warehouse, if you go to View Customer, you can see the EDI trading partner is Abercrombie. And if you go to the Ship To locations, you've got this warehouse where you can assign a default warehouse for that specific Ship To location. Now this location 101 is specified as the distribution center, and then we've got location 133, which is serviced by 101. And both of them have that default warehouse set to B. All right, and like I said, now we've got this warehouse order that's ready, because we've got this order that's got 2 lines for warehouse B. So we're going to go ahead and process this warehouse order. And again, if you wanted to copy that to the clipboard, if you have a lot of messages there, you can copy it and paste it, and it'll show you the date, time, and the specific document that was created. And if you look in your EDI outbox, you'll see the big warehouse as well as the advanced ship notice that we sent for Bristol. And we'll go over that again in a second here. Okay, and then let's say your customer calls and they want to change their order, but you've already sent it to your 3PL warehouse. That's not a problem in version 10. We'll go ahead and hit edit. This order has already been sent. See, we've already processed it. And then we'll go here and say instead of 180, they want to change the B15 to 160. So you change that to 160 and hit save, and then you'll be prompted, the sales order has already been sent to your warehouse, the EDI 940, did you want to export it again? Go ahead and hit yes. And then when you refresh this, you'll see you've got this updated big warehouse order that's got 1 line on it, because you're going to send that 1 line back to the warehouse. So we want to go ahead and process that. And then here you can see this save results. This gives you the same information as when you copy and paste, but it gives you the ability to save it on your computer. So if you click Save Results, it'll default to where the log files are saved. You can give it a specific name, and you go ahead and save it there if you needed this information to refer back to later. All right, so now let's go ahead and receive a warehouse shipment file back into Acctivate. So I've already got a document that's set up for this shipment. So I'm going to go ahead and move that into the inbox. So it goes into the inbox after you've exported it from your EDI provider. So let's say that I've just exported this 945 from our 3PL warehouse. It's now in our inbox. And if we go into Acctivate and hit refresh, now you'll see this warehouse shipment for 2 shipments, and it also gives you the text file name. So let's go ahead and process this warehouse shipment. And then if we go back to this sales order, and it's now shipped because we got that 945 back from the 3PL warehouse. And also, once you receive that 945, it creates the packages on the packaging tab with a tracking number and all the information from the warehouse. This information for this example came from the 945, but it can also come from Shipping Workstation as well as Packaging Manager. So if we go to Packaging Manager, Package Shipments, and we change this to Shipped, then we'll see the shipments that were created from that 945. We'll see the details. But if you're not doing 3PLs, then that is when you would actually go through preparing shipments based on either specific trading partners or order numbers or any of this criteria. You would prepare the shipments, and then you can go into Packaging Manager, Package Shipments, and I don't believe we have any open ones here. But you would see a new shipment here for you to process and Acctivate, and then once you set that status to shipped in Packaging Manager, then you would see the packages here on the Packages tab. Okay, so if we go back and refresh this EDI tool, now we have this advanced ship notice ready, 2 lines for Abercrombie, and that's based again on the 945 that we received from our 3PL. So we'll go ahead and process this advanced ship notice, and it will now be in our outbox. Now these files are moved out of the outbox once you import them back into your EDI provider so they can send that information back to your trading partners. And that's this file right here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create the invoices for those 2 sales orders. We'll go to Create Invoice. You can see the packages that we've got listed here from that 945. And we'll go ahead and hit Invoice to complete this sales order. And then we're going to look up the sales order that we created for ABC. And we're going to go ahead and invoice that one as well so you can see the multi-partner feel of the EDI tool. So if we hit refresh, and again, this refresh is going to go back and check any of the inbox or outbox file locations, and it's going to see if there's anything that you need to send out. So we've got an invoice for ABC, and we've also got an invoice for Abercrombie. If you wanted to, you could process only this item, you could filter based on the item, you could expand or collapse it if there's information there. And you'll see here that it lists each specific trading partner separately. So if you had multiple invoices and you got a warning or something on that, then you'd be able to expand it and see each one individually. So let's go ahead and process the customer invoice. Again, it gives you the file information that it's going to send to that outbox, and now that outbox has those 810 documents for Abercrombie and ABC. So now we've completed the process for EDI, and let's say at some point you needed to resubmit an invoice or an advance ship notice because you got notification that maybe they didn't receive it or something like that. So you'll hit this use filter when you've selected a trading partner, and you can resubmit based on a date, based on the submitted date, or a submit range, or based on the shipment created date. And then you can undo this if you wanted to uncheck that, and then we'll also do the same for invoices. You can either do it based on the invoice created date, you can resubmit based on the date it was submitted, or based on specific invoice numbers. All right, so that's all I had for the demo, so let's see if we can go to the questions. We've got a question that we FTP our transaction files directly back and forth with a trading partner. Any issues with this approach in version 10? There's no issues. As before in EDI Manager, we'll import and export to a folder based on what you have set up for that specific trading partner. So that's going to be based on, let's go to Configuration Manager. We'll just choose Abercrombie. It's going to be based on this file path, this mailbox path, either if you've got a specific one listed here or based on what you have set up in the system as the mailbox path for incoming files. So that's going to be the same in version 10. You just have an easier way to configure those file paths. Okay, we have a question of any plans to allow transaction processing to run on a schedule. Currently, they process all steps every hour. Unless you're exporting or resubmitting constantly, you'll be able to do it much faster than before, because like I said, when you have multiple transactions, let's go ahead and move these POs back in here. We're not going to resubmit them. But if we move these to the inbox, let's say you've just exported a ton of purchase orders for multiple trading partners. You just export those. You don't even have to go look at the file paths. You hit refresh. Acctivate goes through and checks each trading partner based on the specific file path, and it'll see if there's any more transactions there. And if you have more transactions since the last time you hit refresh, they're going to show up here, and you click process, and you can process them all at once. You can say, maybe I only want to process Abercrombie purchase orders, or if you've got 3PL warehouse orders and customer purchase orders and you only want to do the warehouse orders, then you would just select warehouse orders if there were any to import or export, and then you can just do it all at once. So there's no more need to open a specific trading partner, then collect purchase orders, then receive purchase orders, then go into Acctivate and open the sales orders to verify everything's there. Like, you're going to see all that information here on this EDI tool. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for EDI now, instead of having to really have to do that, every few minutes or every hour for each specific trading partner, because they can all be done at once. Let's see. Are there plans to provide a scheduled process that sends out exception reports rather than having a human intervention to process the EDI? Right now, we don't have any plans to quote-unquote automate EDI. It's all going to be done through this EDI tool. So, you're still going to have to click process just like you do when you have to synchronize with QuickBooks, and exactly the same as when you have to do your web source sync. You're still going to have to click that sync button. But this new EDI in version 10 allows you to do it for multiple trading partners at one time for multiple transactions. And then before you even click process, you're going to see if there's any warnings or errors on these documents, so you can go ahead and research that before you process it. Because if you process it with errors, so let's add that S to the UPC again. So if we refresh this, you'll see that we have this warning on ABC. And if you process that with a warning, it's going to create a sales order with an in type line because it couldn't find a match for that product. And then you would have to go and manually redo that. But what this tool does is it gives you the visibility to see what the issue is so you can go ahead and resolve it before you process it. We've got a few questions about some other documents like 832 and 870. Currently, what we support are the customer purchase order, the advanced ship notice, customer invoice, the warehouse order, and warehouse shipment. We can add...
I could provide some maybe insight into, how we typically see people manage those outside of integration.
Great. Go ahead, Jeff.
Typically the 832 is typically, a spreadsheet upload, or you're using some sort of item management service through your EDI provider to send that information through. That's typically how we see customers do that. And then the 870 is usually managed on a web-based portal that all the EDI providers provide. So it may be more of a manual document, but it's actually a pretty easy document to complete in terms of just order status. So usually that's outside of the system and outside of any specific integration, but supported so you can be compliant on a portal with your EDI provider.
Awesome. That's some great news. Also, just to touch on the 832s, Jeff.
832 is usually going to be your item information. So a UPC with some of the attributes.
Oh, okay.
A retail trading partner is going to want to see. Yeah, so those can be pretty large files as well.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had a good question. If you have existing trading partners before you update to version 10, you're not going to have to set those up manually. Any trading partners that are existing are going to be set up whenever you update. So really what you would need to do when you update is if, you may want to go into Configuration Manager and verify that all the settings are correct, or if you are doing 3PL, maybe you want to change the option names, for the workflow status or something like that. You can go ahead and verify that and update or edit any of the trading partners as needed. So yeah, you're not going to have to recreate any trading partners when you update to 10. Okay, and this kind of touches on, the need for the EDI provider. We have one customer asking if they'll still get email notifications about incoming sales orders. The email notifications aren't a part of Acctivate's EDI software. That is going to be something that's through your EDI provider. So that's just another one of the great tools that you can use from your EDI providers like SPS. Okay, and then we had another person just verifying that EDI Manager is no longer going to be an application that we deal with. That's correct. The process EDI window that we've been working with is what's replacing EDI Manager. And we like this a whole lot better because, like I said, it's a one-stop shop for all trading partners, all possible transactions that you have set up in Configuration Manager. So there's no need to open a trading partner and then select the specific transaction that you're doing and processing it, and then doing another transaction and processing it. It definitely speeds up that process. And then on top of that, you may be worried, what's going to happen, because in EDI Manager, when it was a standalone, it gave you like this special log that you could look at for errors. Well, now those errors are going to be shown on screen. Like right here, you could say could not find match for product. And this screen is actually expandable, which the EDI Manager was not previously. You couldn't go very far with it. So if you can't read it all here, you can expand the window. You could also copy to clipboard and paste it into another program, and so you can see it all as text if you wanted to. If you get an error on a sales order and it does not go through, how do you get a notice? You'll see it here on the window. We've just got a warning here, so the warning will create a sales order. It'll just, like I said, if you create it like this, which we can go ahead and process it, you'll see that it processed with that warning, but it did create a sales order. And if we open that sales order, that line that was a warning is an in-type line because it's not actually connected to anything in the Acctivate database for your products. If you got an exception that blocked it, this light is going to be red and it's not going to create that sales order. So you'll be able to see it here, and it'll list, what document has that error. So you can go into your inbox or your history if you did import it on accident, and you can open up that document and open it. You can verify it against the specs that we have on our help site, which this one's specifically for 850s, but we do have a spec document for each type of EDI transaction. You can verify, whatever the error is, it's whatever the exception is, you can verify what column it is, if it needs to move, so you can contact the EDI provider like SPS if they needed to move something around or export information into a different column. Now, the receipts for your 3PL warehouses, those are still going to be processed through the receiving, the purchase orders in Acctivate and receiving those purchase orders. We're not going to be getting the on-hand quantity from those warehouses at this time. So if you need that information, you can talk to the EDI provider to see if they can get you that information, and you can use that for your purchase orders in Acctivate. Okay, we have a clarification question about verifying if they're set up correctly once you update to version 10. By default, the EDI configuration will be exactly the same. The way the trading partner is set up in version 10 is going to match exactly how it was set up before you updated. That's really just to review if you wanted to modify anything, like if you wanted to change the way it packs, or the ASN, if you wanted to change it to SOPI instead of SOIP, you can do that easily now instead of having to contact support for us to change it in the back end. It's not going to override anything that you already have set up when you update to version 10. Yes, you can continue to use Transaction Manager. You're still going to be downloading and uploading the files like you were previously to version 10. Now we just have an EDI portal within Acctivate that you don't have to use EDI Manager to do one trading partner at a time. And then once you update to version 10, you can just immediately start processing EDI orders in the desktop Acctivate rather than EDI Manager. We do have a question for the people that are using True Commerce. They have that Transaction Manager. Like I said, the way that you get those files is not changing. What's changing is how you process those files in Acctivate. So if you're using True Commerce and you're using Transaction Manager, you'll still be using Transaction Manager. We're not getting rid of that. We are not becoming an EDI provider to deal with EDI compliance. That's still going to be in the hands of SPS or True Commerce or whatever provider you use currently. Like I said, the only thing that's changing is the way it's transacted in Acctivate. And today we're working with Jeff at SPS. Jeff, do you want to come in and tell people how to get in touch with y'all over at SPS to see about pricing if they wanted to either move over or get signed up with you?
Yeah, I think you can work with your Acctivate account rep or just contact there. We're kind of going to filter them in that way. So whether it's Dakota or Ryan, whoever you're working with over there, they have all our contact information to reach out. And yeah, we can get you in touch with the right people here. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Because it may not be Jeff specifically. He's the senior partner channel manager. Probably.
Yeah, so I manage the relationship specifically with Acctivate and kind of work directly with your team there. So yeah, filter everything through the Acctivate team. They would channel it through me, and we'd get you in touch with the right people here at SPS to have that conversation.
Exactly. So if you have any questions about pricing, you can contact us and we'll get you in touch with the right people over at SPS. We had some really great questions. I hope you learned a lot. Like always, we recorded this webinar and we're going to be posting it on our webinars page on our help site. So I hope you got a lot of good information about EDI processing in Acctivate 10. I hope you were able to learn a little bit about SPS and maybe even start a partnership with him. That would be great. Jeff, thank you for coming in and talking to us a little bit about your program.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, I hope everybody has a great day. We'll talk to y'all later.